Hey everybody, it's Tafony here once again, and today's Rambling About is going to be on the Shakmat Battering RAM, an 8 HP kick synthesizer module for your rack. Last time it was on the Archer's rig, so it was probably time that I got to doing the Battering RAM, which is one of my favorite modules. And before we get into it, the quick disclaimer, I'm not affiliated with Shakmat, despite every video of them being, or despite every Rambling About being on them recently. I'm not affiliated with anyone for that matter. I bought this one new from our local seller as well in Vancouver. And one thing I'll just say before we get into it, I always think it's so funny the Shakmat modules are so clean and beautiful, and the demos are so tidy, and the presenter's so soft-spoken, and the accent and the nerdy branding with the chess stuff, which I 100% appreciate. I think all that stuff is really fun, but it definitely surprised me when it sounded like this. I did find it's actually like a little bit loud. If you have it cranked all the way. So maybe just take it down a hair and then it'll mix a little bit better with your mixes. Maybe this is a little too much. You want to hold the trigger button. We just want to, roll it off a bit. If you're getting, maybe that's just happening to me because I overdo it with a drive, but yeah, that's how that goes. And there is control over velocity. I don't do a lot of velocity. Hopefully I'll get into those complexities someday because my sequencer is capable of it, lots of them are, but I just I started out on samples. I haven't really done too much that modulation, but you can, and there is a shift setting, or there is a setting here. So if we modulate our velocity, you can see your level going off, right? And yeah, even in saying that, I'm like, oh, I never really need to do it, but in here now, it's like, okay, well, there's a cool way to spice up your rhythms, right? So take that out now. Yeah, joys of modular, right? And genuinely, because that is a joy. So we went over the level. There's velocity control through a secondary function. I'm not going to get into that right now. And then decay, you know what decay is. This thing will absolutely drone. Then there's the depth. So as you probably know, in a lot of kick modules, there is pitch and then there's the bend. So how much do we want to bend it down to the left? So the pitch is going from our starting note to a depth, or the maximum depth down, or we can go maximum depth up. And you kind of got to tweak your starting pitches to taste, right? So you definitely want to have some bend for sure. And I kind of like how it sounds bending up, which I don't think is the traditional kick thing, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I do like starting pitch way down and then your transient is kind of more usable. Let's send some modulation to the drive. crazy how much, like I said, the sound design is so dependent on the drive, so using that much modulation makes it really crazy. And then modulate the decays. Now there is the store and recall I talked about. I'm not going to go over that today. This isn't journalism. It's just a blog. And if I'm not using it, I don't think we should go over it. This is the click. So that's sort of like I think some things refer to that as like it's kind of like a layering, right? So how much of it is that fundamental, how much of it is your click? And the manual refers to click as click. Controls the amount of envelope applied to the pitch. Oh, interesting. Adding a clicky transient. Oh, I thought it was a sample layer. Well, we're learning things every day. I do like some click. See, because it almost does make it sound like there's like a head on the drum, right? Like, or it's changing what head you're using, right? The material. So that's really cool. And then pitch, obviously I talked about it a little bit. There is a whole range of octaves here. And now because this is the last knob, I'm going to jump ahead and talk about the lock. So there's a lock here where if I tune it to a pitch that I like, or if I tune it to something intentional and I hit lock, then it will change the specific note, or it'll lock the specific note, and then this becomes an octave switch, so I can go down. I lose my independent range over notes, but now it's just octave jumps, really nice. And then I'm back into the infinite sweeps. If you set it to gate mode, you can use it better as a synthesizer, unless you're using kicks in that way that you want to gate them, or your sequencer sending them gates. And instead of following the decay necessarily, the decay does add a little bit of attack, and decay, I guess it's not decay if you're using gates instead. But anyway, I don't use this, so I'm not the best to speak on it, but we're going to use it right now. We're going to lose it right now, that's for sure. Let's switch in. And then, if we send it some pitches from our sequence, now I've lost my kick, obviously, but gives you some ideas of what a synthesizer would sound like out of this. So I think the click makes it sound a little strange. Oh, the depth still works here too. Interesting. Like, very valid synth sound. I like it. Now if we take it out of gate mode for synth sound, and I think my pitches are changing more often than my drum is, so let's just try and hit this on the fly. Yeah, I really like that. I feel like the rings into clouds folks are gonna destroy me. But then I almost was like, oh, I wish I had another battering ram so I could jump into that. Get out of game mode. It's moments like that that just make you like, oh, I love this stupid thing. It's not stupid. I love it a lot, but I love that fun. That's the fun of modular to me. And speaking of the funs of modular, the knocking over my camera with the spaghetti, the other ins and outs on here. So let's bring this down a little bit. So we have CV control over drive, I did. CV control over decay. I always say this in every drum module video, but if you send LFO to decay, if you modulate your decays, it's supposed to be like the classic Avex twin thing, and like these are, I joke about the beauties of modular all the time, but that's like, to me, getting like such different drum sound just by modulating the decays. Like, you really changed up the entire sound without having to do anything, and in saying that out loud, maybe that's a reason why you hate modular, but it's kind of like the reasons I love modular, so that's, yeah. I don't know what this is, but I like it. Yeah, happy accidents or whatever Bob Moog said. It's a joke, don't be mad. Okay, with that being said, let's go to the envelope now. And this part is really important because if you are looking at drum modules, you know that sidechaining is an important aspect of them. So, envelope out follows the same envelope that is lighting up this trigger, follows the same envelope as the amplitude if we send that to our sidechain. Sounds like that. Just makes our kick stand out a little more without it. With it. Now there is a little end of chain compression here, so I'm not really, making it crazy or anything, but there is some other fun things you can do with the envelope out, like patch it to the drive. Just to give it some spice. That's the velocity now, and then the click. The pitch. Alright, let's get it back in the sidechain. I'll make some like dance music, let's go. Yeah. And yeah, there's an inverse control here that allows you to invert the envelope. So if you find either things are backwards or you have a different use for it, meaning that you want things to boost instead of duck, then you can hit that invert and it will invert the output. And that is really useful for things like I've done either panning or scooping of the amplitude of other voices from it. So not sidechaining the compressor, but just turning the volume down on another voice. I like doing that too. Simplicity of that stuff is like also a big plus for the battering ram. So yeah, that's the battering ram. I freaking love it. Yeah, silver panels, if I can just ramble about another stupid thing quickly. I love silver panels. I love the silver cases I have. I know Dope did them originally, and it's kind of seems dated to some people, but not to me. I really like the silver panels. I like the IntelliGel ones. I like the Dope ones, and I especially love these battering ram ones in a way. It just looks really industrial to me, and not in a industrial music way. Like noise engineering panels look very industrial music in a black gothic way, but these look very much like, unpainted steel. It just seems very like, I don't know, utilitarian. Give me a good adjective for, I don't know, it just seems very, very industrial, very straight off the assembly line, and I really like that. And yeah, that is the battering ram. I love it. I hope Shakmat does more drum modules. I hope we get a snare module next. I would love to have the 3-piece kit with 4 voices. Yeah, I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.